Hey everyone, it's PB here. This is the sixth video in my communication segment. I hope you have gotten a lot out of the other ones and everything. And yeah, if you have any questions or comments or whatever, please put them in the comment section and let me know. So this one in particular, we'll be talking about self-awareness and how being aware of your own communication and how it comes across. So I've mentioned a bit about this kind of thing in some other videos, but I know in particular with the technological factors one, the fifth video, that again, how you communicate and how it comes across to someone else is very important. Knowing a good example is knowing yourself, knowing how you can deal with a situation and how you can communicate effectively by knowing the right words to say, how to use your body language to come across in the way that you want to try and the way you want the other person to receive what you're talking about. Now, when it comes to this, very basic but very important thing is everyone is different. Not everyone is aware of how they communicate and how it will be perceived by others. And excuse me, as I said in the last video as well, all words will have a slightly different meaning or different image related to that word than other people will see it. So I mentioned the other video about an experiment that I did with the flower, how, I won't go too much into it, but how I said the word flower to one person, they described it to me, had another person who was out of the building, got them to come back in, said the same thing, I said the exact same word, and then they had described to me a different type of flower that popped into their head. And that again shows how words can be different, which means when you go to describe something or communicate something to someone, the words that you use are going to be, you're going to have to try and pick your words carefully to be able to know exactly what you want to say and how to get it to come across. And again, always keep in mind of the what you say and how it will come across. So for example, sometimes I use swear words to help emphasize or really describe something in particular of what I'm saying. But I won't go along and I probably won't use swear words or anything if I'm talking to a woman or maybe an elderly person. Mostly because I feel it's a bit disrespectful. Again, that can be depending on the person. I know for me in particular, even if it is a woman and they do swear, I still try not to swear around them. That's just a me thing. Again, elderly people, that can sort of depend on that. I've known some elderly gentlemen who swear like there's no tomorrow, but I've then known others who are really against it. And so that's something to keep in mind and be aware of, that some people will be okay with it, some people won't, and how you can communicate what you're trying to say can have an impact on that. Again, a lot of different ways to look at that. You could have the attitude as, they accept you as you and you're going to say whatever you want. Hey, fair enough. Or if you want to try and be, if you want to be maybe a bit respectful in the sense that you don't want to come across bad or anything like that. You could think about what you want to say and go from there. A couple of different attributes to go along with that and how you think about it, but again, that can be a bit of an individual basis and what that person chooses to do or say. And again, that's coming across when you're using words, but when when it comes to your body language, your own self-awareness. So no, a good example for me in particular is because I'm a fairly big guy, a fairly solid guy. I know I spent most of my life where a lot of people judge me and they kind of get a bit of afraid of me. Whereas again, that's face value, that's judgment based just by looking at me before even getting to know me. That's the judgment that I get. Which, it is what it is. That defines that sort of describes the whole fight, flight, and freeze thing. So that's just a natural human behavior. But yeah, to be able to do that and then still wanting to get to know someone anyway, certainly a special thing. But yeah, it is a natural thing to judge people and then decide, okay, is this person a threat? It's a human instinct. And so, because I'm a bit of a bigger person, I come across as I can be very intimidating looking. But I've had a lot of people say to me, because I smile and laugh a lot, that kind of decreases my intimidation quite a bit. But the difference is, I can switch to being intimidating to not be. And when people annoy me enough, I guess you could say, to the point where, although I've asked them several times to maybe stop calling me something or stop doing something, or whatever, they'll notice how quick I change, because I'll be nice and polite, say, hey, listen, can you please stop that? Can you not do that, please? And they say, hey, listen, I've asked you several times, can you not do that? But then, if they're still going on with it, I'll quickly switch and I'll then bring out my stern voice and I'll be like, hey, listen, I've asked you to not do that, and the swear words involved with that. But yeah, and people quickly see how the different reactions that I have. But the thing is, as soon as I finish being stern and I realise, okay, they've got the point that I'm getting across, then I'll go back to how I was. And again, that's in the stern part of voice, but my body language as well has a attribute to add to it. So I would generally be very confronting. So I'd be very face on. I'd be standing up straight, probably pointing my finger up, and again, it's showing, it's called a directive statement. So you're being very direct with that person. You're showing that, you're annoyed, that you're trying to get what you want across. And yeah, so, and that can also be, where it comes into the importance of being mindful of your own words and your own actions. Again, I've met a lot of people who try and say things, and although they have the best intentions, the way they come across can sometimes not come across good to other people. Excuse me. I know a good example is, I remember I met someone who, there were certain words that this person didn't like. Very common words, very nothing out of the ordinary. Things like, I guess you could say, if you're worried about something or you wanted someone to be okay. Now, I know for me, a good example is I cared for this person and I wanted them to be okay. And so by saying, hey, are you okay? Or, I'm worried about you, that this person didn't like these kind of words. But to me, because I cared about them, I wanted them to be okay. Why? If they're upset, I wanted to know and I wanted to be able to help. But they didn't like these words because of past experiences and whatnot, and certain traumas had made them, every time they heard this word or heard these words, it would make them feel a certain way. Now, that can be for a number of different people having this kind of thing where they have certain words and that have had a negative impact on them in the past. And so whenever these words come up or anything, it, I guess you could say, it triggers them to a way. A good example, a good way to put it, is, have you ever had a song that you liked or that you listened to, but every time you really liked it, but at the time you were with an ex or something, and then when you heard it again, you started thinking about that ex, and you then started to not really like the song as much, or or you didn't want to really listen to it as much, especially if it was the breakup was still fresh or something. I definitely know from experience, I've been through that. I know a few other people who've mentioned it, that they've been through the same thing as well. And if you think about it, same kind of thing. And so that's why it's very important to be mindful of your own words and your own actions. Now, again, you're not always going to know the right words to say or how to say them, which is why communication is very important, because if you say these things and the other person is upset, the person who's upset needs to explain to the person who said them why they're upset, let them know what the reasoning behind why it's upset. Now, the reason why I say the reasoning is because if someone knows the reason behind something, the more likely they are to go along with it. So if you, for example, if someone says a word to me, or someone says a word to me and it upsets me, I say, oh, can you not say that word because it upsets me? They're not as likely to try hard not to say it. Whereas if you say, hey, listen, this upsets me because, in the past I've had this, and every time this is said, it makes me think of that, blah, blah, blah. However, this is another big thing here. It can also be up to the person who has these have these words that affect them, to also try and push through that, and to try and understand that that's sort of the past, and you need to try and be able to push through that and get through that, because sometimes those kind of things can hold you back. Now, don't get me wrong, it's certainly not going to be easy, depending on the person as well, but in most cases, it probably won't be easy. But you can't always rely on other people to go along with that and sort of expect them to always change the way they talk to suit that particular person. To a degree, it is okay, especially if that person is willing to sort of work on trying to move past that. But again, it's something to think about, talk about, and it's why communication is so important. Because if each other is aware of their own communication, the way they talk, how they talk, words they use, their body language, you'll find that if two people are working on that same kind of thing and they're constantly communicating with each other, you'll find things to become so much easier between those people. Now, this is any kind of communication, whether it's with relationship, friendship, family, person down the street. Again, within reason. For example, if you go to your local shop, but you're going there every day or once a week or something, and you're seeing the same person, you're going to build up a relationship with that person. And again, there's a lot of different attributes and things to think about, but that's a basic baseline of it, I guess you would call it. So, yeah. Anyway, I hope you've got a lot out of that one, especially around self-awareness, because it's, again, I'm always going to say that all these kind of things around communication, very important. So yeah, I hope you got a lot out of it. Again, if you have any questions or anything like that, put it in the comments. And yeah, so the next video that I'll be going into will be the importance of understanding mental health and the role that communication plays on this. So I'll be going in and sort of talking in particular about depression and anxiety. Might touch a bit on maybe PTSD and things like that. And so I'll probably even talk about my experience as well with depression, which I do have another video there about my story and my mate's story as well. But yeah, so I hope you can join me for that video. And yeah, so I hope you enjoyed this one. Hope you got a lot out of it. And yeah, I hope you guys have a good week. And yeah, much love.